If you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do the roll call, a little reverse here, but we have an excused absence for Councilman Guerrero, and for there was one requested by Mr. Restucci. Is there any objection to him having an excused absence for this evening? Without objection, he's also excused, meaning all else are here. Let's see. And I don't believe yeah, we're good. Okay, so moving along then, we're going to do the oath of office for an LTAC. So if Ms. Rubio, Amy Rubio, if you'd step forward. I'm going to give you this so you can say your name in the appropriate spots. So, we're going to have you go ahead and start. Say aye.
Amy Rubio.
First being duly sworn and upon oath and opposed to say, can you read that rest of that?
That I will and truly perform the duties of office as member of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee of the City of Sunnyside, Washington, to which I have been appointed, and that I will uphold the ordinance of the City of Sunnyside and the statutes of the State of Washington and the Constitution of the United States during my term.
Okay, so then we need you to, can we borrow a pen? Thank you, sir. Can we borrow a pen right here? And you sign both of those and I keep one. Very much, and welcome to the LTAC. I think you'll be here in the meeting when we're having a meeting. So thank you. Thank you. We have some other fun business to do this evening. We're going to give some mayor awards to our outgoing Miss Sunnyside Court. So if they would step forward up to, and the little, I think I have certificates, and I'm giving them the mayor's coin. Okay. I'm going to step back down here. Oh, get a workout tonight. So, I just really want to thank each and every one of you for the fine job you girls have done, the young ladies have done to represent our community at both at our local events and as you've gone around the state visiting and inviting other communities to come visit Sunnyside. It's just really good. So this is the Mayor's Award, and I'll just read it real quick so as I catch my breath. Certifies that Miss Sunnyside, and we'll start with you, Janessa Frank, 2017-2018 Miss Sunnyside Court, has earned a special recognition and is granted the certificate for outstanding civic achievement by the Office of the Mayor. I have here upon my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed this 8th day of October 2018. And with that, I also have for you our mayor's coin. I believe you have one yet, right? Oh, good. And then this is for Kyla Bunch as first princess. The same applies for your outstanding community achievement. And of course to Ms. Larissa Ruiz. Thank you very much for your outstanding civic improvement. You should have my picture on, but I wasn't sure. And then to Trinity Hamill. There you go. And a coin for you. We also have Little Miss Sunnyside, I'm gonna come on this side, you girls, because you're gonna make me look really, don't go too far, stay right here. So this one is for the Junior Miss Sunnyside of Rita Campos for your outstanding achievement on the court as well. So there's one for you, and a coin, and one for Mayor's Award for Audrey Rios. Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you also for all your hard work at the Spirit of Sunnyside Awards. I know there was recently something else you just helped with the Over the Hill game with handing out refreshments here just the other night. The new girls did it. Oh, you already told them how to do it. Just give them the thing. All right. Well, thank you very much, girls. I really appreciate it. We all appreciate everything you've done to help our community be bright, shining stars for each one of us. Thank you so much. All right. You got your pictures there? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to invite our new court on up here, if you would please. Now, these girls were just recently selected as the Miss Sunnyside Court for the 2018-2019. Is that correct? And we want to congratulate each one of you for being on our court and representing going forward through this next year as our Miss Sunnyside Court. And we know you're going to do wonderful things. So, Sydney, can you tell us what your project is going to be, your community service project?
Well, the theme of it all is prevention against drugs and alcohol. And we're thinking about doing a project with Sunnyside United Measles Coalition with backpacks and little kids or just teenagers to help them avoid going through that bad.
The bad side, the dark side. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you. Well, I'd like to give you our City of Sunnyside pen, just as a thank you for the work that you're going to be doing. I'm going to name each one of you here. Did I give you one? Yeah. Whoever did I should. But anyway, so if you would each introduce yourselves to the group here, and then I'll let you shake hands with the council. Go ahead, you go first.
Well, the new Miss Sunnyside, Cynthia Santiago Villanueva.
I'm the new first princess, Olivia.
I'm the new second princess,
I am the new third princess, David.
Thank you. Congratulations to you. Step down here and shake hands with each one of the council members.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations, Grace. Congratulations. Much more for us. Congratulations. Congratulations. You. Good to see you again. Yeah. Good job. Good job.
Thank you so much, girls.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right. And if you just give them another big hand, please. You can shake the fire chief's hand too if you like. And you may as well, Commander Bailey there, and the chief on the other side. Thank you very much, ladies. All right. So at this time, and those that are leaving are seniors, so they probably got lots of work to do, and these are juniors, so they probably got lots of work to do as well. So we'd be happy to excuse them here. At this time, we'll have unscheduled appearances by citizens. Citizens are advised that they must limit their remarks to the council to 3 minutes, and that items presented may be referred by the council to staff for review and or additional information for presentations to the council at future council meetings. So do we have any unscheduled appearances by citizens?
Good. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is LaDon Lindy. I'm from Sunnyside. I wasn't able to be at a recent city council, but I know the issue of recreational marijuana came up again within the city of Sunnyside, and I wasn't able to be there that night, but since I'm here tonight, I would like to take just a little bit of time to talk about that. You know, sometimes I think people get a little confused between medicinal and recreational marijuana. And I don't think, I don't have an argument about those that use it for a legitimate medical purpose. I know people that have used it and it's been helpful to them, and science seems to be finding new uses for it. And if they can, that's great. But when we talk about recreational marijuana, that's not what we're talking about. I mean, let's be honest. When we talk about recreational marijuana, that means we're using it for one purpose, which is to get high. I don't really think that's a worthy ideal for our city. I don't think it helps our image. I don't think it, I do not think it helps the citizens, whether we're talking about young or old, whether we're talking about teenagers or adults. I know we can make the argument that it's out there anyway, and yes, it is, but we send a message to our community, particularly our kids. If we say something is legal within the city, we've just kind of given our okay to say, hey, this is all right. I don't think that's a message we want to send. I do know that, I don't know all things, but I do know there's statistics out there that in areas where legalized or recreational marijuana has been legalized in an area, one thing they do see is that there's increased access to kids that are in middle school. Teenagers do get more of it when it's legal for adults. Well, we can figure out what's happening, how they get it. But that is a side effect, and I don't think we always think about that. But nevertheless, that is a side effect. The other thing to keep in mind is that it seems that there's probably about 3 groups of people when anything is in a category such as this. You have some people that recognize the dangers and won't touch it no matter whether it's legal or not. You're going to have some people that are enticed by it and will use it, whether it's legal or not. And then you have this group in the middle that they can be swayed one way or another. And I think our actions as a city can help sway that group in the middle. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brian Gibbons. I'm the Chief Executive Officer over here at Estrella Sunnyside Hospital. And like Mr. Lindy, I would like to represent Estrella Sunnyside Hospital and voicing our displeasure, shall we say, or lack of support for legalizing or bringing in recreational marijuana into our community. We think very similarly to LaDon, but as a healthcare institution in our community, we believe it clear that creating greater access to recreational marijuana in Sunnyside does not help the health of the community. It's not the appropriate means in which to advance health in our community. We believe it to be, seen to be as a gateway drug to other opportunities and other probably more dangerous medications, and certainly we have enough access issues with some opioid issues going on throughout the country. I think it's important, though, that while we're dealing with that battle, we don't open up a whole bunch of other battles. I agree with what LaDon has said. I have thankfully raised my children, and I can't so much tell them what to do anymore. But I do know that that's a never-ending battle when you're raising your teenagers to keep them clean and keep them out of other kinds of trouble. I don't think any parent of teenagers ever really gets done raising their teenagers, right? You always got to keep an eye on them. Doesn't mean you have to make it easy. And so as a parent, I would suggest that that's kind of a thing that we all have to pay attention to too. Again, from the standpoint of the hospital, we are against bringing recreational marijuana into our community and making it easy to gain access. I think it's a responsible thing to do as the community leader and as the healthcare leader in our community. Thank you for your patience and your understanding of our position, and I hope you have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Sandra Lindy, and I live here in Sunnyside. I'm going to wear another hat. I was going to be talk Cassandra Public, but then I understand the letter that the school board had sent to the city council had not been received by all the members. So I want to actually read you, and I'm the president of the school board. Dear Mayor Hart and council members, the Sunnyside School District Board of Directors and the superintendent do not traditionally weigh in on issues that go before the Sunnyside City Council. Both the City Council and the School Board share leadership within our community and have a mutual trust for each other's responsibilities to do what is right in the best interest of the patrons of Sunnyside. Because of the extraordinary important issue currently being debated by the City Council, we believe that we have a responsibility to share our position. The issue at hand is the potential legalization of marijuana within Sunnyside. If you can imagine, as educators and supporters of students, we cannot stand silently on such an important matter. If the school district's mission and ultimate responsibility is to provide a quality education to the children of our community, and I want to make a side note, that is over 6,800 students, the children of our community, in an environment that is protective of their futures, it is our opinion that the legalization of the sale of marijuana is a direct conflict of our mission, responsibility, and continuing works to combat substance abuse. Marijuana is shown to be detrimental to the brain development in children and highly addictive. Furthermore, studies have shown in areas where recreational marijuana has been legalized, possession of marijuana by middle school and high school age students have increased. For this reason and others, the Sunnyside School District Board of Directors and Superintendent strongly oppose legalizing the sale of marijuana within Sunnyside. Thank you for taking the time to read or hear and understand our position on this issue. If we can provide any other information or to be of service, do not hesitate or contact us.
1 minute.
So, thank you.
Madam Mayor and City Council members, Michelle Perry, Sunnyside, Washington. So I am here to speak on behalf of the marijuana issue that was passed by the council 4-3 to legalize a marijuana dispensary here in Sunnyside. I am a fourth-generation Sunnysider. I've been here my whole life. 4 generations. That's probably longer than most of you put together. I am also on the Sunnyside School Board. So as a parent, I have 6 children. I am really concerned as a parent about having a dispensary here in Sunnyside and legalizing the marijuana store here in city limits. We've done really well as a city on building up what Sunnyside looks like and what Sunnyside looks like to other communities. Sunnyside's always had a bad name. It's had a bad name for a long time, and we finally got away from being the black sheep of the community and being the black sheep of the county. We've done excellent things on our graduation rates. Our sports teams look good. We've done a lot of good things in our community. If we bring legalize and allow it here in Sunnyside City, I think it's going to reflect negatively on our community, and it's going to reflect negatively on our youth. You just heard from the 2 biggest employers in the city of Sunnyside. You heard from the school district and the Sunnyside Hospital. Your 2 biggest employers are both against it. I think that should speak volumes to you. The hospital doesn't have to be in Sunnyside. They could leave, right? School district, of course, we don't have a choice, but the hospital does. So you just heard from 2 of your biggest employers. We represent, we have, the data shows that if a community allows it, that is one of the biggest effects on children and their use of drugs, illegal drugs. So I would really encourage you to think about what you would want for your child if your children were still here and in school and of school age. If we can save 1 child from even trying drugs, to me that's a win, and no amount of money can buy that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Larry Hill, Sunnyside. I respect the opinions of everybody who make decisions because that's what we put you up here for. and I understand why you make your decisions according to how you feel about it and things like that. I voted against it both times when it was on. I'll be honest. I'm not really for it, but it might be a fact that's going to happen. But I would request you take into consideration how many shops, if it does come to how many shops would be in this city, and limit it to one that's already trying to get in and no more, if it happens that way. Put a moratorium and freeze it so they can't put any more than one business in this town for it and no more. I would appreciate you consider that as an option, like Prosser ended up having two, and then they had to put a moratorium on freezing it so they didn't have any more because another one wanted to come into that community and the size of it. I don't know if there's any more people getting licenses for this community to have a business like that. I don't know, but it could happen, and why not keep it limited so we have only one access in one area so we don't have to deal with a lot of businesses that has problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Saul Marquez. Not speaking for anybody or representing anybody other than myself. Longtime resident, grew up here, and raising 3 children. One's graduated, and one's in high school and one's in middle school. And as a parent, concerned when something like this arises and finds out about it. I wasn't able to make it to the other meeting. I was at a school board meeting that night. And so I would ask, and I'm not sure where it is or where it stands, but as a parent, trying to do what's best for my kids, trying to keep them, guide them, direct them, protect them, that I would ask that you reconsider or consider that to I guess would it be vote against it? I'm not sure where it stands right at the moment, but to not allow that. As again, just trying to keep my kids wise and try to keep them on the path of the straight and narrow, and not allow any more opportunities that are already out there. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Are there any others any other unscheduled appearances by citizens at this time? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments this evening. All right. So moving on to the consent agenda. We have before us the usual payroll vouchers, claim vouchers, etc. Is there any objection or to approving the consent agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Strembler, second by Henry. Any debate? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries. Let's see, I got to write. Okay. Under our active agenda this evening, we have before us the Yakima County Department of Corrections ILA. Consider authorizing the city manager to execute an interlocal agreement with the Yakima County Department of Corrections for inmate housing. Mr. City Manager, if you would.
Madam Mayor, Council, ladies and gentlemen, before you is a interlocal agreement with the County of Yakima to house our prisoners. This is a little bit different one. This is not for us housing their prisoners. This is when we need to house somebody that we are not capable of taking care of. Felonies, hard ones, the ones that we just, mental cases, I guess, we send them up there, that sort of thing. So that's what this is about. When we have to ship somebody out, We need them to be at a more secure facility that provides the mental care. We ship them over to Yakima, or if they're just uncontrollable here for gang associations or whatever the case may be. So that's what this is about. It provides an option for us to send them up to county when we need to.
All right. And is there a cost to this?
Madam Mayor, yes, there is. It's a per night. Scott, do you remember how much it is right off the top of your head?
It's a sliding scale depending upon. It's a sliding scale depending upon the population that the Yakima County Jail has at the time, with a intensive inmate charge of, if I recall correctly, approximately $97 a day.
Okay.
So high-intensity inmates would be those individuals that are suffer from mental health illness or they're required to be isolated from everybody else.
Madam Mayor, I believe if you turn to, I'm not sure what page it is, it's like the second page from the back. There is an attachment A, and that shows the scale. It shows that the intensive management inmates are 9835, and then it goes anywhere from 5765 up to 6365, depending on the number of prisoners that we have at their facility, correct? 0 to 25 is 6365, and, or am I reading that wrong?
I don't recall if it's ours or theirs.
It might be, it looks to me like it could be total, because again, I can't imagine they think we're going to send them 150 prisoners.
That's total at their housing.
Totally at their housing. Okay. So the cost goes up. The fewer prisoners that they have, their cost goes up, and that makes sense per prisoner.
So we pay more if they have fewer inmates?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any comments from anyone?
Do we know how many we did in the last year about?
I don't have that information for me at the moment.
Would you dare guess? I mean, like 10 or less or more? Or
Oh, no, it was well more than that.
is it?
We have, I would say we're probably upwards of, rough guess, but we're probably somewhere around 80 to 100
Oh.
right now for this year. Many of those are repeat offenders that are continuously getting in trouble and just can't come into society.
Is this mostly just mental, or is it high-profile type people like a murder suspect?
Yakima County Jail is obligated to take our felony inmates by statute. So they're not. We still get. We still have costs for them prior to conviction, as well as for medical costs and medications and things like that. This is primarily dealing with misdemeanor cases of folks that we are moving, whether we're, for instance, if we have too many females and we have no more room here, we relocate them to the Yakima County Jail, so on and so forth. Or if we have folks that we can't house together, all those different characteristics come into play and require us to have another alternative location.
All right. Is there any other questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Strimmer, I can probably get you that number tomorrow. That's okay, because
Okay, I just wanted a rough idea. I don't,
it's,
not that important, really.
well, yeah, it's not
It is.
that many, you know, it's probably 80 to 100 nights that we paid for last night, but again, I'm guessing as well. It wasn't a lot.
You're saying nights, so it could
Well,
be.
that's how we pay for it is, yeah, we pay for it by the inmate days or inmate nights or whatever.
Necessarily 80 inmates, it's 80 nights.
Correct, that's what as I recall,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
And it could be a little bit more than that. It's higher than that? Oh, okay. Well, again, but I could get you the numbers tomorrow if you'd like.
That would be.
But again, that's around 40,000 or something. Is that how much we paid them?
I can get that information for you. I don't have it before me
Okay.
today.
I'm pretty sure we've seen that not too long ago. We looked at that, and we budget for it every year, obviously. But
If I'm not mistaken, our average monthly bill to the Yakima County Department of Corrections is anywhere from $5,000 to $9,000.
Okay. And is this something you can negotiate to a different price, or is this
No.
the set fee?
That's their set fee.
Okay,
We've tried to negotiate with them in the past.
okay. Okay, it's always
Usually
good to
goes
try
up.
to negotiate. We should do that. Okay, is there any other questions, or what is the desire of the council? with this item?
Second.
So the motion is by Mr. Boersma, seconded by Mr. Hicks. Is there any further debate on this issue? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same side. I too vote aye. Motion carries. But if you could get that number to us, that would be,
We'll try to get you that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Via email, if that's okay.
that'd be fun. Thank you. Okay. The next item before us this evening is the Consolidation Telecom Agreement, or CTEL. Consider authorizing city manager to terminate the current agreement with the Circus and Vivox for inmate communication services and execute an agreement with Consolidated Telecom, Inc. Okay, Mr. City Manager, can you kind of give us a little update on this?
Madam Mayor, I would turn the floor over to Chief Escalera and Commander Bailey on this, but initially this is to request cancellation of the agreement with Securus. Securus is a big company, it's nationwide, and what this is the telephone system in the back in the jail allowing prisoners to make phone calls, okay? They put the phones in there, and then they basically pay us a fee every time the inmate uses that. The inmate is charged for those phone calls, and the way it's supposed to work is then they submit money to us. We haven't been making any money with Securus for quite a long time. As a matter of fact, we have to pay them, okay? We don't feel that we're getting a good deal, okay? So that's where I'm going to let it be taken over by the chief. So again, we want to just terminate the contract. We've had them for quite a long time, and we just want to just terminate it, get this other company in, and stop being charged so much money for inmate phone calls. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the chief.
Madam Mayor and council members, as the city manager just said, it's the recommendation. The Sunnyside Police Department currently is a telephone contract with Securus Telecommunications. They are a entity that does provide telephone service and communication abilities to their families, attorneys, things of that nature. Whoever they need to speak to, they provide it. However, we're supposed to also obtain and collect a commission from this particular company for doing so. So there is some revenue-making abilities that we get from that, and sometimes they could be substantial. Several years have gone by now where, most of our issues that we've had with Securus have not been addressed. They really have been falling as far as service goes, as far as providing us any kind of commission. In fact, they are charging us for shortfalls. I'll have Commander Bailey speak about that in a moment, but the shortfalls you can't predict, nor can you track, and nor can you make up. And so we have shown this to other carriers, another carrier out there, which is CTEL, and they're really unsure as to how they're getting away with that. They don't get it themselves. However, we are paying considerable money on a monthly basis on shortfalls, and it's a very confusing thing. But we have to stop that hemorrhaging. It's not just a simple scratch. It is hemorrhage. We do pay out. We have a much better service that we can turn to. There are several, actually many jails in the state of Washington are converting and switching over to CTEL. And I think that they are a very solid company to do business with. And also we're able to increase our revenues through this particular company, and which is what we are really looking forward to in 2019. So with that, I'll turn that over to Commander Bailey.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, Council, City Manager, Consolidated Telecom is an organization that provides jail communication services. They are willing to come in, provide new hardware throughout the jail to include 10 inmate telephones, 2 visitation kiosks for the public for video visiting, as well as 7 inmate kiosks to be in the housing units, for zero cost to us, which they will recoup in profit from the inmates over a 5-year contract. They're doing this and offering us a 40% commission over the term of the contract for 5 years. That pays off the equipment that will be that they're going to front us, as well as continues to give us revenue over that time frame. In addition to that, we're going to end up getting 15% commission on video visiting, which is by them bringing in the new services to us, will allow them to do remote video visiting and come in online and visit their family or members without having to drive all the way here, which is going to in turn reduce the amount of workload on our corrections staff, shuttling people back and forth for visitation. It's all set up in advance, vetted in advance, and run in 30-minute increments. When the time is up, it's up. Everything is also recorded for integrity. And they're anticipating that on the phone system alone, they can't give us an estimate on where they think that we'll end up on the video visiting, because the video system that we have currently is inoperable and has been for some time. But they're anticipating that we'll get commissions somewhere between the area of $1,000 or $1,500 to $2,000 a month, based upon our population of inmates, roughly about 65 inmates per day. Currently, we're using Securus and their subcontractor VizVox. Now, they are stationed out of Houston, Texas, and are not overly cooperative to sending technicians up here to fix our stuff. Plus, they want us to sign up for a $4,000 or $5,000 a year fee to take care of the equipment remotely. But if they have to come up here, we have to pay for per diem and travel and everything else. They do have telephone technicians that are out of the Portland area that generally take 2 to 4 days to get here to resolve issues. We make 10% commission from them, but as the chief indicated, it is not uncommon for us to end up with over a 4 to 6 month period a $1,200 budget shortfall. As they refer to it, is we are obligated to pay a minimum of $400 a month in service fees to them. That comes out of our commission. If the commission does not make $400 in that month, we owe instead of breaking even.
Good.
So as this with CTEL, they only make money when we make money.
Until noon.
And they have personnel in the Tri-Cities that are technicians that can respond within hours rather than days. So
Yes.
if we look at the pros and cons of the situation, we get brand new hardware,
Morning and Saturday.
local technicians versus Securus's technicians out of Portland. The new remote visiting, which gives us a 15% commission. Increased commission rates from 10% to 40%, so a 30% increase. A new dashboard for our investigators that will allow us to retrieve calls and be more effective on that. And they're going to donate free telephone calls to all the people that are booked from the booking room. So instead of having to make a collect call to someone to come in and pay bond or to contact a bail bondsman, they're just given a free call. The cons to this are there's a bit of an inconvenience for an install. And we have a learning curve for learning some new equipment. But both of those are minimal compared to the revenue stream that we'll see and the increased services that we'll see with going with the new program. So,
By signing this particular contract, it's for 5 years?
yes, ma'am.
And is that the minimum fee here of $400 per month? That's something that is charged to us?
No, ma'am. That is what we are currently paying with Securus.
Oh, I see.
With CTEL, there is no fee. They only make money when we make money.
Okay.
So based upon this, it's our recommendation that we terminate our contractual agreement with Securus, and that we engage in a new contract with Consolidated Telecom for better overall services and increased revenue to the city.
Is there any cost to terminating the contract?
There has not been in the past for other agencies that are doing the same thing. And we are well into the second set of 5 year contracts with Securus. And in all honesty, the size of our jail is minimal in the scale of their world. They're an international entity, so they're not losing anything from us.
So what you're saying, they'll probably be happy to get out.
That's what we're hoping. They'll stop.
Exactly right there.
They'll stop getting calls from me on a weekly basis.
All right. Is there any other comments or any other questions from the council regarding this particular item?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understood it right. What you said is there's no cost to install the new equipment. Is that correct?
Absolutely right.
Okay. If I heard you say, I just wanted to verify I heard correctly.
Correct, sir.
To me, it sounds like a no-brainer. But can you guys both recommend CTEL?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
So the motion by Hicks to approve, seconded by Boersma. Any further debate? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. I too vote aye. Motion carries. All right. Thank you, Mr. Bailey, for explaining that to us. Or Commander, excuse me. I give different field promotions and I take it away, apparently. Sorry about that.
No problem.
All right, we move to the part of the agenda where we have items from council members. One thing we want to, can I do that or are you going to do that? One of the things that we do want to mention this evening is, and there are some flyers in the back, you may have seen them back there, to the those in the audience still. We're having our community meet and greet the city manager finalist on Friday night from 5:30 to 7 at Bonvino's Bistro and Bakery. And all are more than welcome to come and visit with the candidates, meet them and for the position of our city manager. And there's a couple of you still in the room that we do want to talk to about possibly being on the interview panel, so don't run away at the end of the meeting, or if you're planning on skipping, stick around. so we have a couple of questions for you if you're interested. Okay. So I also have a couple of appointments for mayor's appointments to boards and commission. The committee had met to review nominations for the Parks and Rec, for Andy Bonzi and for Javier Garcia, and I would like to have the council's approval to appoint those to the Parks and Rec Commission.
No objection.
Any other objections or not objections, or?
We both reviewed their files. They both seem like excellent candidates.
Okay, so there's no objection to do that. I don't need a motion for that particularly. So ordered. Thank you. All right, and you saw this evening we also had sworn in Amy Rubio for the LTAC Commission. She's replacing if you remember, I can't remember what month that was. When was that? It was just a month or so ago?
Yeah.
Just a month or so ago, one of the members of the LTAC committee had passed away the day after we had reviewed some LTAC funding, if you remember. And so Amy, as she has been really followed along, and as she's one of the people who get money, so that qualifies her to be a member of that particular commission. So without objection, I'd like to also have, well, it's already kind of did that part. It's already kind of water under the bridge there. But I also have a third person that I'd like to appoint to the Arts Commission. Her name is Chelsea Demas. She's a local girl. She's involved with, to the Art Commission, she's involved with textiles and a T-shirt business and design. And she and some of her girlfriends have started a new business. But she's a local gal. She's very talented. And she's kind of a small cottage industry, but it's very artistic. And I'd like to appoint her to the Arts Commission. We want artistic types, but so who can bring more to what we would like to see happen in our community art-wise, public art. So is there any objection to her? No? Okay. Well, then we will proceed with her application as well then. Thank you. Other reports, announcements, and or questions by council?
I just had one little thing I would like to announce. I just wanted to announce there was, I just wanted to address a complaint that had been made to me concerning my dad on the PDC. I spent most of my lunch today talking to Mr. Blackburn. What happened was I filed a new account because I couldn't remember my old password, which gave me 2 accounts, and it looked like I had blacked out my old original account, but that is not the case. They moved it all over to 1 account today, and that has been taken care of and addressed. So I just wanted to thank the public for bringing that to my attention so I could get that fixed. Thank you very much.
That's your public disclosure?
Yes, that is taken care of.
Thank you. All right. Any other things? Yes, Mr. Borsman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's just a thought that came to me as I was reading through and preparing for this evening's meeting. As I was looking at the amount of money that we pay all the time for our public defenders, I think it was getting close to $18,000 on this particular consent agenda. And then, it's been kind of noted in the past that we are somewhat late or slow on collecting some of the fines that are levied against people here in the court. With the amount of money that we're paying out for public defenders, I'd sure like to see us be a lot more aggressive in collecting fines.
And we'll have to, I think there's many of us who feel the same way. So that'll be something we can talk about here with our city manager and our future city manager about how we go about doing that. I know that one of the, when Elizabeth was here last on our workshop meeting talking about revenues from the multiple municipal court, that was one of the things that she also addressed about with our new clerk. So maybe we'll be seeing more collections on our fines and so forth.
And that came up in a conversation I had with her last week as well. Since I had to miss the workshop, I went in on Tuesday to try to get caught up, and then she and I talked for a while about that.
Right.
So, but I just wanted to mention that. There was something that just popped into my head again later on when I was reading all of this, and there's an opportunity for some revenue as well.
Right.
So we're trying to look for everything. That's
everything.
one source we can dig into.
That's certainly right. So, any other questions, announcements, or reports from? Yes, Mr. Stremler.
Back in August, the place that's building pellets was served a cease and desist immediately and be out in 30 days. Now they were basically served the same thing again. I guess my question is why, maybe this is a standard procedure, I don't know, but why they were not contacted a few days after they were issued the first notice to make sure they had ceased and desist as the order had stated, versus waiting 30 days and now tell them to cease and desist again.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Chief, would you like to take this one? We just had a discussion on this today.
Yes, on the cease and desist order, it was provided, they were given 30 days to do that based on the compliance of our codes. However, prior to the end of that 30 days, they were given another cease and desist order, which that was on Thursday of last week. They were given the option and said it's going to happen, and then you do have to leave. You have to move to a different site. And so that has been done, and all production has stopped there.
They have stopped.
They have stopped there. And they are starting to work on things. They're starting to clean stuff up on the lot. Whether they have found a new location, that I don't know. I was gone on Friday, so I don't know if they've were able to secure another location in the county or wherever. So that I don't know.
When I brought this up a couple of weeks ago, or whenever it was, I believe we were told that the first time they were served that they said they did have a place to go, and whether they do or not, I don't know. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I believe on the first run they told them that they had several options. They were calling on the options, but there was nothing secured. So hopefully they have that now. So, but it has stopped. Production was checked as recent as today, and it has stopped.
Good.
Okay, anyone else from council? Okay, hearing none. Move to council request status report. You have a, I don't know if you guys have that in your agenda or not. You probably do. We're probably still, I'm not understanding the 1214. All right. The standard retails, we're going to have some meetings in December regarding the results of recommendations of our report sent to the county council members. Remember, we are looking at having the secret shoppers come in and talk to the different business people in town about what's good, what's could be improved, that sort of thing. What could come here to make the town a little better as far as business-wise. So that's coming up in December.
Madam Mayor, that is correct. They will be here on the 10th. And I think that's why it gets a little confusing as to how this is typed in there, perhaps. On 8/24, I reported that they would be here on December 10th for 3 days of secret shopping. They will then have a community meeting and get input from the community and give an idea as to what they saw while they're here. And then subsequently to that, they will give you a written report with photographs and recommendations as to what steps they feel that the city can do and businesses can do to improve the appearance and the marketability of the community.
All right, so that's still out there. And I think we are still the same with the Roman Avenue. The subcommittee is going to be discussing the community or development ordinance at their earliest convenience. We've not set that meeting yet.
When will that be set? Do we know?
I just haven't set it yet. I haven't really picked a date yet with the rest of the other members of the committee. Mr. Restucci's on that committee, and Mr. Francisco are on that committee. So we'll be setting that here in the next, sometime in between budget hearings, so we can kind of get a feel for that. Better make myself a note on that, so I don't forget. But you could remind me, Mr. Strumler. Okay. And there's nothing to report, I think, on the senior citizens ADA ramp. Don't believe.
No, ma'am.
And the tree replacement plan, that's been kind of put out there too, is that correct?
We're working on that with Shane Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to just We're going to be planting some trees along the walking path here in town.
Excuse me.
Okay, and you just had a report on the pallet business. Post office parking, there's been some, we talked about that here recently, and I think more recently we've been talking, I think Shane had mentioned something, there was two options regarding angle and or turning that into parallel parking. Has there been any movement on that, sir?
Madam Mayor, we haven't done anything on that. Quite frankly, I believe you need to go to parallel parking on that only. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for folks, and you're going to get some pushback from some of the public that have been parking that way for 140 years. Not quite that long.
Since 1930 sometime.
Okay, but the fact of the matter is, your diagonal parking there causes a great deal of problems. It has for years. This is not something new. That's why when I first got here, you had curbs in the middle of the road to stop people from making the illegal U-turns into the diagonal parking. Part of the problem that we're experiencing now is once we move the stoplight at 7th and Edison, there's a constant flow of traffic coming through the four-way stop sign now. Back then, when you had a light there, it would stop and turn red on Edison and give a slight chance for people to back out and go. So, and again, I've noticed that myself in the short amount of time that I've been here. The fact of the matter is that diagonal parking is just not good. Anybody who would argue that it's better for the handicapped people, the post office is not handicapped accessible. You have to climb a flight of stairs to get to the front door. So we provide a good, clean parking lot within 150 feet of the front door, and I think that we need to convert that to a parallel parking only. Be identical to or very similar to what is down between 7th and 6th Street on the same side of the block. I think you're going to see a lot of improvement, vastly improved parking and traffic conditions right there. So that's my recommendation, and but we have not taken any action to do that. I think we need to do that right now. Just get rid of the problem.
So,
and people will get used to it, and they'll start parking parallel or moving it over into the parking lot. The other option is to restrict the diagonal parking to small vehicles, compact vehicles only, and get rid of the big four-door Dodge diesels, that's like, well, they're just 27 foot long. You shouldn't be parking a pickup there, so, but they do.
right. And now, is this something that we need to bring before council and have some sort of?
No, ma'am, I don't believe it does require. This is an administrative decision. I believe that the city manager has the authority to do that with the director of public works. That's just a matter of making it parallel parking and done. If you guys want to weigh in on it, we would certainly agree with that. So it's whatever you guys want to do on that. It's going to be a hot potato. I'll tell you right now. There's going to be people that are not going to be happy with it. But I believe it's the right thing to do, honestly do.
Can we make the motion on that tonight?
Yes,
we
sir.
vote?
Well,
We don't have
I do
to.
have a question down here at the end, Mr. Borsman.
I was just going to say exactly what Mr. Day just finished saying. There will be some blowback on that. I think when it was floated in the past, I got an awful lot of calls on it, and a lot of people were complaining about it. From personal experience, I'm in favor of it going to parallel parking, just because so often somebody stops halfway through the four-way stop waiting for somebody to back out, and they're willing to sit there as long as it takes to get that parking spot right in front of the door. We have a perfectly good parking lot that people can walk to and from, and as the city manager has mentioned, the whole building is not handicap accessible. And so anybody that's going to use the post office is going to have to be able to walk that distance anyway.
And up those stairs.
And up the stairs. So, yeah, there will be some unhappy people. It might not be a bad idea if we have a motion from council to do that.
Okay. Is there any other comments on that? Do I hear any other comments on the parallel parking?
Can this be just kind of a wise guy remark?
Well, if you have one, go for it.
We currently don't have a city manager. We got an interim city manager, don't we?
No, sir, that's technically that's not correct. I did give my notice of retirement, but I did state in my retirement that I would stay on until you selected a new one.
I remember that.
So
Just trying to be a wise guy.
I know.
Okay. So perhaps, as Mr. Boersma suggested, we go ahead and share the wealth here and have a motion to turn that parking into parallel parking in front of the post office.
I would like to make that motion to abolish the diagonal parking and replace it with parallel parking.
Okay, Mr.
I will
Henry
second that motion.
And Mr. Boersma seconds.
And I probably just lost a couple of friends for doing it.
Here come the emails.
Okay. Any further debate on that issue? I do think that it'll help with traffic moving in and out of there a little bit more safely with the parallel. But that's my 2 cents on that. I'm a horrible parallel parker, so I'll go to the parking lot. So.
I was all in favor of letting the city manager make the decision on his own, so we wouldn't take the heat.
Well, that's why they pay us the big bucks, guys. Any other debate, comments? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All those aye too vote aye, and so without further ado, we will direct the city manager to do the necessary for parallel parking in front of the post office, and they can send.
Understand.
And all the mail can go to the city manager. So, I noticed also for these first of the community development meetings, the small cell G5 that Mr. Restucci brought forward. So we will have 2 items for that agenda when we get that meeting set up, and we should be getting that set up here somewhere in the next week or so that we can get moving on that. So agenda planning schedule we have before us now for our meeting on the 22nd. Mr. City Manager, I see we have the official newspaper is up for renewal and or new period.
That is correct, ma'am. October 22nd. That's all we have so far.
Okay. And
oh, my apologies, ma'am. The clerk just mentioned that we do have the first public hearing for the budget.
at that meeting?
Yes, that will be on October 22nd.
First public hearing for the budget.
I'd also like to mention, ma'am, you'll have a budget hearing on the 15th, I believe, as well, which isn't on our calendar.
16th?
16th, because the 15th, that's right, calendar, okay.
The 15th?
The 16th. 16th.
16th. That'll
And I
be a
believe
Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday, and I believe that's at 6 o'clock, according to the note I got today.
That is correct.
Okay. And that will be here,
Yes, ma'am.
City Hall, or City Chambers, Council Chambers. And as far as for the November 5th workshop,
Madam Mayor, I have nothing on there yet, but I anticipate that will be additional budget work.
mhm. Okay. And that probably just takes us right out to November, so we're good there for a little bit. If further on out, Mr. Boersma, you might notice that coming up in December, we will have the public defender contract to look over, so that will be something we can be addressing then. The tiny houses, we'll have that back on our agenda at a workshop in December, 1st of December, so after we get some help from YVCOG on that.
I think I saw an email on their decision on that. Just
I don't remember seeing that, but that doesn't mean it didn't come through.
Okay.
There were a couple of YVCOG's emails we received here in the last day or so. Okay, so, let me see where we at here. Items from city manager and department heads, sir.
Madam, I may turn it over to my department heads first.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and Mr. Day. So we only had this week, we have an ongoing complaint, just so you know. 2600 block of Allen Road, I've already been in communication with Chief of Police. I think we're going to get it handled, just if it keeps coming in. It was a high weeds, and it's a pretty good-sized lot there. Belongs to, I believe it was Catholic Charities, so we're trying to get a hold of them, get that taken care of. The other thing is since the last council meeting, we executed that, Mr. Day executed the agreement with AP Triton, so we've got the GEMT thing up and rolling. It looks pretty good that we're going to make the deadline to submit for retroactive to July 1st of 2017. Other than that, nothing else new for me.
Thank you. And,
Chief?
Only thing I have today is just the upcoming trunk or treat for downtown. We'll have downtown closed for a few hours there on October 30th. We encourage all of you to come down, say hello. There's an awful lot of time and planning that goes into that with those individuals that participate, and it's a lot of fun, and we get a tremendous turnout. So love to see you. Thank you.
I noticed earlier this evening as I was walking in, Amy Rubio was asking me if the Lions were going to have a booth again this year, and I'm going, well, I better ask them. I don't know. So, all right.
Might want to get on that then.
Yeah.
It's getting tight.
Yeah, we need
Very
to.
good. Anybody that has not experienced a trunk or treat in Sunnyside needs to do that.
Oh, yeah.
That is quite the experience. It's just absolutely amazing. So tomorrow night, Chief Anderson and I will be going to the Grandview City Council to discuss the ambulance ILA. We've discussed that with you in the past. We'll see where they're at on that and see how we're going to move this forward, if we're going to move it forward, and then we'll be reporting back to you probably at the meeting on the 22nd. Excuse me. I believe that's the meeting date. Yes, October 22nd. So we'll give you an update on that on the 22nd.
Is Asteria still on board for the cost sharing that they had presented earlier?
I met with the CEO recently, and last response was yes.
Okay.
Secondly, I will be out of town beginning on the 10th, and so I will be missing the budget hearing on the 16th, but Elizabeth is aware of it and she'll be able to get through there. One of the things that we're going to be needing to do is, number one, know what the position is going to be on funding the SRO program for the upcoming year, okay, for the remainder of the school year. You did receive response from them, so I just need to know. We're going to have to talk and see where we're going to go with this. So my recommendation is leave it at 50-50 and perhaps review it in another year, but again, I don't know that we're ready to just cut that off the way it is. So, and then we also need to know what you want to do about those revenues. Okay, we had a discussion last week on the revenues, and it's hard for me to do a budget if I don't know how to charge out those taxes. So that's going to be one of the things that is going to be brought up next week is where do you want to do it? Do you want to raise the ambulance rate? Do we want to leave it as it is? Do we want to raise the utility rates, leave it as it is? Do we want to initiate the transportation benefit district, the other things that we brought up? Those we're going to be looking for answers from you, okay? So
that will be on the 16th or the 22nd?
That'll be on the 16th.
Okay.
Because I need to, finalize my preliminary budget, and those numbers are critical.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right now, I'm building the budget without them. Okay. So I got to know what to do here, because without them, then we're going to have cost cuts. So, which is manpower. Okay. So I just need council to make a decision, to give me direction what you want me to do. And then I will be back on the 22nd for the meeting and then also.
Okay.
That is all we have.
Okay, just as a reminder, those of you who are seeking folks to be on that 7-member panel for Saturday, as soon as you have some names, if you would please turn those in to Mr. Day, send them on to him. We could probably, since we don't have, we haven't received any names from the deputy mayor and/or from Mr. Restucci.
That's correct.
So if we have some spare names of some folks that we, kind of think will say yes, a little arm twisting perhaps, we could go ahead and get those in as quickly as we can. That way we can always.
Madam Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
I apologize. The phone call I got was
Mr.
Guerrero. I would not normally answer phone calls, but I thought it was kind of
That's right,
important.
I forgot about that, yeah.
So I probably caused a bit of a disturbance there when I answered that phone, and I apologize. But that was Mr. Guerrero, and he advised me that he is in the final stages of selecting somebody.
Okay. Oh, excellent.
And he just needed to know what time he needed him there.
Right.
So we should have an answer from him by tomorrow. I'll try to reach out to Mr. Restucci and see if I can get an answer from him. And then, what would you like to do? We'll have, I understand that Mr. Henry just gave us a name this evening. So I think I've got everybody. Mr. Broersma is also in the final stages. So if I can get those two, we can either go with 6 or we can have a 7th one if you want. What do we want to do? The other item, I never got a response. I sent an email out asking what you would like to do with the employee panel. Do you want me to select that, or do you want to do that yourselves as well? It's kind of up to you. I'm here to help you.
Well, I gave you the name of one person that I'd like to see on that panel the other day.
If I can remember it.
I'll remind you.
So if you want to give me a name of an employee, that's fine. If you want me out, that's fine too. But if you want me to do it, that's fine too. But I need to know because it's coming up Friday.
We
We
really
need this by Saturday so these people are available.
Right. So
Okay.
don't wait till the last minute. Go home, think about it.
Don't wait till Sunday.
Yeah, don't wait till Sunday. That'll be too late.
Just to confirm, Mr. Day, it's the 13th, 8:30 to noon.
That is correct.
Here.
No,
No,
at the community center.
At the community center.
Right.
Thank you.
Community center. All right.
And they should be done by noon. It might be a little later than noon.
Now, that's the citizens.
That's the
The
citizens
citizens
and the employees
Oh,
panel
yeah.
and you guys. You'll all have a late day, long day on Saturday. Okay, because you're going to be there too. You'll have your group meeting in the morning, I believe. Okay, because you're going to have 3 panels going on simultaneously in the morning. The citizen and then the employee and you guys will meet with each of the candidates, individual candidates, but you'll meet together. Then you'll go in for your individual assessments after lunch, and then at 5 o'clock you'll meet as a group to negotiate and decide what you want to do and which candidate you feel is the right person. Then if you make a decision, you'll have a committee, and I believe you've already called for that committee at the last meeting, if I remember correctly. I don't remember who was on it. But you'll have a committee that will meet with that candidate and try to negotiate. Okay, so you'll have a long day. We'll start about 8:30 in the morning, and we have coffee at 9 or at 8:45, and it starts going from there, and you'll be going pretty much the rest of the day until you make a decision. Then the subcommittee, the negotiating subcommittee will go meet with them again and try to reach a final agreement.
Okay. Is that good? Good. Trying to remember. If we
I couldn't remember. I know we talked about it, but again, we'll need to have somebody on that committee. So you can do that. You can select that committee on Saturday.
So we'll be in touch with, see who would like to be on that too. We'll send out some sort of email. And if you think you do want to be on that negotiating committee, go ahead and get a hold of me, and we will figure out how that's going to work. All right. Well, I believe there's nothing further to come before us this evening. So without objection, meeting adjourned.